welcome to Where's Wilmington. This episode is going to be all about the Relay for Life, and if you are a Wilmington resident or actually beyond, you should know all about this event. If you don't, you will by the time this show is over. So my first segment is going to be with Joe Martinello, who is the chairman of this event. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes, the Grand Master. And next to him is survivor Kathy Cook, and you also have a team as well that participates in the Relay for Life, correct?
Yes, we do.
Excellent. So let's start with you, Joe. This is the third big year that you guys have been doing this, right?
This is.
Tell me a little bit about how the event began, why you do it, and what we're going to see when we come to this event.
Okay, about 3 years ago, I attended my first Relay for Life event in Burlington, and I attended as a participant on a team. I only could go for about 4 hours of the event, but in that 4 hours I saw the survivor ceremony and I saw the Luminaria ceremony. Walking around the track, and it just hit me. Why don't we have this in Wilmington? Right. I know many families in Wilmington have been impacted by cancer. It's a great community event, it's a great family event, and it's a great event for kids to participate and to raise the issue of cancer throughout the entire community.
Right. Now this event covers all types of cancer. It's not just for breast cancer, for any specific cancer. It really, all the money goes to the American Cancer Society, correct?
Correct. It goes to the American Cancer Society to help with research, to help with services that they offer patients, to help with legislation, various different things that they offer up to the community.
Excellent. This event is going to be when? June 17, 18?
June 17th, 18th, okay. And we are starting at 5:30 with the welcome ceremony. We call it the celebration ceremony. We honor our survivors during that ceremony. But our participants will be showing up around 3:30 to get their campsites ready. Some of them will be there at 3:30 to get their campsites ready and to register for the event itself. And we're opening up the fun zone this year earlier for our participants. So that'll be open for some of the kids.
Patrick Giroux, who's going to be in our next segment, is going to tell us about that.
Absolutely.
So for those who don't know what the Relay for Life really is, why don't you explain it? Because it's kind of unique if you've never heard about it. It's a 24-hour event.
Yeah, give or take. So some communities run the event 24 hours. Here in Wilmington, we run ours between 12 and 14 hours. It is an overnight event. We run it starting at, like, as I indicated, 5:30. We'll run it to about 8 o'clock the following morning. And we have teams of individuals, anywhere between 8 and 15 on a team. And those teams, prior to the event, are doing fundraising activities. So they're raising money for the American Cancer Society. Then they come to an event, and at the event itself, they commit to having a team member to walk around the track during the duration of the event. So they have at least one person on their team walking at all times. So we start at 5:30 and we go till 8 in the morning. Rain or shine.
Right.
The first year we had rain. The second year we didn't have any rain. It was
second
beautiful.
Year was perfect, because I was there. The second year was beautiful. Yeah. Not a bug in sight. It was nice and warm. It was perfect. What kind of events are you going to have this year? I know last year we had salsa dancing, and the young lady who did that was on my show talking about her experiences with that. You had all kinds of stuff going on. You had the concession stand open. What else is going to be this year?
Similar activities as the past 2 years, and
you had live music too, band
we did.
and
we
DJ.
Have Jessica Prouty Band's already committed, so they'll be there. We will have a DJ at the event itself. Activities that the teams will be participating in are themed laps, where they decorate, or they get dressed up in various different costumes and outfits based on the themes. We have prizes for those as well. For the overnight, for our participants, we'll be having a comedy show by Steve Bjork.
He's awesome.
And you'll be there.
Yes, I will. I'll be there around 1 a.m. I'm going to do the twilight time. We'll see if I can keep quiet long enough to do that for you.
Then I'll have to save some pizza for you.
That sounds great. I'm sure I'll need it by 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do the 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. or 8 a.m. shift. And what else goes on at the event? I know you have the opening ceremonies. You have all kinds of activities for the families and for the participants. What else goes on? The Luminaria ceremony is what I'm hinting at?
Yeah, I know. So there are 3 key ceremonies at the event. So any Relay for Life that you go to, there are over 5,000 that happen throughout the United States. So imagine that, 5,000 community events happening throughout the country. So there are 3 focal point activities that happen at each relay. We have that celebration welcome ceremony. We call it the survivor ceremony. And we honor our survivors during that ceremony. And as one survivor will come and speak. And then later in the day, as the sun's setting, we have our Luminaria ceremony. At that point, we take a caregiver and they share their experience of losing somebody to cancer and how their battle was with cancer and what that meant to them personally. And it tends to be more of a somber, respectful time during the event itself. And That's the piece, that's what hit me,
Right,
my
right.
first event.
What I like to say is it's poignant more than somber, you know,
Yeah,
because
that's true.
it is, not to
Yeah.
correct you, but it is very deep and moving,
It
but
is.
not to the point where you're depressed, because you see that there is hope.
Yep.
And that leads me to Kathy Cook's story, which is all about hope. Now, you're a survivor and also a team member, and your team is called?
Kathy's Cancer Crusaders.
Excellent. The 3 C's.
Yes, and my sisters and I are actually 3 C's, so that's where it came from.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So you normally had done the North Reading or Reading event?
North
It's
Reading
North
one.
Reading?
Yep.
Yeah.
This is my
So how
first
did you
year.
end up coming to Wilmington?
I live in Wilmington. My husband and I have been here for almost 8 years, and I just decided that, you know what, it's time to do something in my own community. I grew up in North Reading, that's why we started there.
Right.
But I decided to get to know more people in our community. And I've heard really good things about the Wilmington one, because I know a lot of people from town. So I was like, why not try it out? So
Right. And then maybe we can combine the 2 events at some point.
definitely.
We get a bigger field. We have all kinds of things we can do. Kathy, would you mind sharing with the folks a little bit about your story and why you are so personally connected to this event?
No, absolutely not. I am actually an 8-year cancer survivor. On June 12th will be my 8th year. And I found out at 27 that I had something rare called ovarian lymphoma. I had a tumor the size of a baseball on my right ovary. And I had it removed. And I went through 6 rounds of chemotherapy, losing my hair, the whole 9 yards. And then they told me that I couldn't have children. And I had to wait a year, and I had to have more testing, because now I have 1 ovary, and I had gone through chemo. So about 6 months later, I was going for my 2nd round of testing.
And so just to jump in, you were a newlywed at that time.
I was a newlywed, yeah. Well,
So you're 27 years old, you're a newlywed, and I believe you were almost misdiagnosed in the beginning. Weren't you told you're fine, it's all fine?
well, in the beginning, all my blood work came back normal. They said that it was just a tumor the size of a baseball, and they
just a tumor.
and they had to they had to get rid of it because it was so large. And I went through a bunch of testing, and my OBGYN was phenomenal, and he said, you know, we have to remove this. It's so big, we have to get rid of it and see what's going on.
Right.
And it took them actually 2 days. My surgery was on June 10th, and they diagnosed me June 12th, and they said that you have a form of cancer, we're just not sure what. So I proceeded.
How did you feel when they said that to you? I mean, I know my mom is a cancer survivor. She's in remission currently for stage 4 lung cancer. We hope it stays that way. But I think when we first got the diagnosis, you kind of go numb. It's sort of like the Charlie Brown thing. You kind of are hearing what they're saying, but you're not. It's not really getting in.
I actually found out my then fiance and I were at the hospital, and I had to sign everything. Not everything, but I had to sign everything to him because he was not my next of kin because we weren't married.
Right.
So my parents and I sat down with him and we signed everything. So the doctor had actually called my father and said, I don't know who's picking her up, because I was being released that day. And he said, I don't know who's picking her up, but I think that you need to be there. So my dad actually walked into the room, and he wasn't supposed to be there. And it was just me and my fiance, and my sister was coming to help bring me home. And I looked at my dad and I said, I have cancer, don't I? And he said, he just kind of shrugged his shoulders. And then the doctor came in. I said, I already know. I said, I know I have cancer. I said, I just want to know when I can go home and what the next step is. And he, at that point, didn't know what the next step was. He was the OBGYN. He'd consulted with a pathologist at Mass General and consulted with an oncologist at Mass General, but I had to recover from surgery before they could do anything else.
Wow.
So I had to go home for about 2.5 weeks before they could even make further progression.
So you're in limbo.
Yeah. So
trying to kind of figure out what you're going to do. You know, from there.
So
but then
sat
you got
home.
through all the treatment.
I got through all the treatment, and my recovery was I had to do testing every 3 months. So the first round of testing, they said, oh, you're fine, everything looks great, you know, continue to get better. The next round of testing, they said, there's something wrong with your left ovary, and we need to do more tests. And I was baffled. I'm 20, now I'm 28, married. I never considered having kids at the time, but when they say you can't, you're kind of like,
Of course.
What do you mean I can't?
Of course.
So I had to wait 6 weeks to have more testing. We went through our second relay, and I was just miserable. I was miserable. And then they called me in, and I went in for testing, and they said to me, there's nothing wrong with your ovary, you're actually pregnant. And I was like,
Yay! So that's an interesting misdiagnosis right there.
what?
Wow.
So yeah, so actually not even my oncologist or my OBGYN told me I was pregnant. It was a radiology tech at Mass General who had no idea I was crying so hard.
And so now you have 2 miracle babies.
I do. I have a 6-year-old Annabelle and a 4-year-old Ariana.
Right. Now, how much do you feel support from family and friends helps in the recovery process?
It's fantastic. My now husband, who I married 3 days before I started chemo, has been fantastic. My younger sister moved in with us to help me get through everything, and my older sister, who lives about an hour away, did whatever she could from an hour away. And my parents just, everybody's helped out.
Right.
And my sisters are the core of my team, and one of my sisters is fundraising crazy. So.
Wow. And that is true. I mean, whatever family looks like to you. It may not be your family of origin. It may be friends. It might be some people you work with. We've been touched by cancer here. One of our staff members recently passed away of lung cancer too. So it seems like everyone, I think, is being touched by this, and whatever anybody can do, whatever your family support system looks like, that's how you get through these things. Joe, what do you want folks to know that are watching the program today? What would you like from our viewers?
They can be involved in multiple different ways. They could join an existing team. They could start a team. We're still accepting teams to be started for the event. They could donate. They could donate a product, service. They could donate cash if that's of interest to them. So they could go out to the website and do that. In addition to that, they could come the day of the event and see what the event's like. Get a feel for the event.
As a participant, it's got to be very heartwarming to you when you see the crowd of people watching you walk.
Every year I think you need that. Every year I think it's going to get easier. I'm an 8-year cancer survivor. It's going to be easy. And every year it's not easy. It's still hard. It's still difficult. And not difficult in a way that I don't want to do it, difficult in a way that I had cancer, and it's nice to see all these people bonding together to do something
and supporting
for
you,
it.
raising you up. And I suppose it's nice to be able to be in both camps as someone who's supporting the event and also as a survivor. You're really on both teams that way.
Definitely.
And I'm so glad you're here to be able to share that with
Thank
us.
you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anything you'd like our viewers to know? Anything you guys want to ask for? Our viewers are pretty good about giving us whatever we want. So anything you need from the community currently, or anything you'd like anybody to know?
Just reach out to us. The website's www.wilmingtonrfl.com.
Okay.
So go out to the website. You can email us at info@wilmingtonrfl.com. We've gotten so many different various types of offers. So iRobot is a great example. We have a Rumba vacuum cleaner that was donated that will be one of our door prizes. So there's anything that you think you might have to offer.
So the point is, don't think that you can't get involved.
Absolutely.
Just call us and tell us what you're good at, and we'll give you something to do, right, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's plenty of things to do at the event. Next segment, we're going to talk about corporate giving also, and we're going to talk about the kids' events, so it'll be a good event for the kids to come to, too. So thank you, Joe, for being with us for this part of our program and for actually starting the event in Wilmington. Thank you, Kathy, for being so open about your story.
Thank you.
When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Relay for Life, how you can get involved, and we're going to talk about corporations and how they actually play a role in making the Relay for Life a success. So stay right there. We'll have more of Where's Wilmington right after this.
Folks, why won't we go to the doctor? My uncle called, speech all slurred, complaining his arms numb. He called everyone. He even called my daughter Tiara, because she's got a year of nursing. Everyone thinks he needs to go to the doctor, including me. So he said, well, will you take me? I'm like, I'm on the road. He goes, I'll wait. Stroke's no joke. If you or someone you love have symptoms of stroke, don't wait. It may be too late. Dial 911. Time loss is brain loss.
Welcome back for the second half of Where's Wilmington. We are talking to the folks from the Relay for Life. And this part of our program, we're going to talk about corporate giving and also how our youth in the community can get involved. So I'm going to start welcoming you, Adam Basilio. Welcome.
Thanks, Lisa.
You are from Morpho Detection, correct?
Detection,
And you're
yeah,
also a team captain as well, right?
Correct.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what Morpho Detection is and how your corporation, not your corporation per se, the corporation you're involved with, has gotten involved with the Relay for Life.
Absolutely. So this is our actually third year, I believe, doing the Relay for Life.
Right.
This will be our second year with the Wilmington Relay for Life. Our first year was with Woburn. Some communication errors where we didn't realize there was one in Wilmington when we were planning it.
Okay.
So from what Morpho Detection does, who we are, we do a lot of, our core business is explosives and narcotics detection. So in Wilmington is our trace detection center of excellence. So we do all of the checkpoint trace narcotics and explosives detection. So working with TSA is one of our large customers at the checkpoints. It's one where you'd see our instruments most frequently. So from that perspective, we don't get a lot of interaction with the consumer face-to-face per se. It's more larger entities that are buying our equipment. So Relay for Life is really a chance for us to get back into the community, give back to the communities in which we operate, and and really meet our corporate values of corporate citizenship, getting in, giving back, getting involved with the community. And then also internally, it's a great opportunity for us to engage with one another outside of the workplace.
Right. Now, why is this important to you? Why is this, I mean, there are a million different things you could get involved with in the world of giving. Why the Relay for Life for you personally?
Me personally, this is my 5th year doing Relay for Life. I got involved during my undergraduate degree at Worcester Polytech. We started a group of actually underclassmen who were below me started up the Relay for Life on campus. Right. Got involved with that. Around the same time, a very close aunt of mine was on the trail edges of her battle against cancer. Unfortunately, at that post-Relay for Life, she did end up losing her battle. However, it was at that time just a very appropriate thing for me to get involved with. Everything that happened, both family, personally, as well as other friends that I've had as well.
It just motivated
exactly,
you.
Just
you couldn't
became
not.
the motivation.
I would say, it sounds to me like you couldn't not get involved. You
Exactly.
had to at that point.
Right.
Because you had been touched by it personally.
Yeah.
And
And
does
then-
your family get involved with the process too, or is it just you?
My family less so. I mean, obviously they're very supportive of what I'm doing.
Right.
From the financial donations, they're supporting me in that aspect. At the WPI relay, they actually did show up. They came to it for a little bit. They didn't stay the whole time, but
Well, it's 24 hours.
exactly.
Come
It's
on.
it's a long event.
You know.
So I couldn't really hold that one against them, but they are most definitely supportive of.
Right.
of
And we
the
do want to
cause.
mention there are many businesses. Joe Martinello gave me a little list. So Bertucci's, Rocco's, Camp 40 Acres, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, Pony Express, Cross Country Automotive, a lot of different businesses. And if we didn't mention you, please don't be offended. This is a partial list, but it seems like a lot of corporations are really trying to help out and get involved with the event.
I mean, it's such a great organization. The message that they're sending is something that just fits in with every corporation, in my opinion. The values of any organization of corporate citizenship, giving back to the communities in which you operate,
Right.
is at the core of any business. So doing that, incorporating the people into what you're doing and where you're operating is
Right.
essential.
And let's face it, it makes you a more loyal employee.
Absolutely.
You know, you're a young guy, and I'm sure you've got lots of skills. You could probably work anywhere, even though the economy's bad. My point is that you want to work for a company that is in line with the same moral values that you have.
Yep.
So you may be more likely to stay and be loyal to a company if they support your ideas.
Absolutely.
How does More for Detection support the idea of you doing this? Do they allow you to put up posters in the office? How does that work?
The engagement is huge. I mean, our team is solely Morpho Detection employees, so typically in the last few years it's been anywhere from 10 to 20 employees that are on the core team.
Right.
But in terms of the support that we're getting, we're doing events on a weekly basis, from casual
Excellent.
Wednesdays to today we had a pizza party and we raised over $200
Wow.
in donations. So I mean, we're doing events not only within the community, but also
Right.
focusing just in our
Because,
facility.
you know, there are corporations that don't allow any of that.
Right.
You know, you can't do those kinds of
And
things.
typically
really.
our organization wouldn't. Working with them, going through and just making sure the messaging is correct,
Right.
they have allowed us to actually send out the emails, hang up the signs around. And for most places, for most organizations as well, we're doing the same thing. We have an events committee that really manages the communications and making sure that we're.
So now, as a team captain,
everything.
what is it like? Because you've got to have someone on the track for the whole 24 hours. How do you manage your team? Good thing you have 20 people too, because
Yeah.
that would mean technically each of you would have to do 1 hour.
Right.
But how do you actually break that up and manage it? I'm curious to know how you do that.
It's difficult. Execute or kind of organizing it is one
Yes.
thing. The execution and making sure the organization
Right.
follows through is a
Right.
whole nother
Right.
beast. Essentially, what we've done in the past is we have weekly meetings of the core team
Right.
on site during business hours.
Wow.
Another area where they're actually very supportive. They allow us to meet during lunch in the conference rooms, bring in some lunch for us, and have our organizational meetings. So what we'd normally do is just kind of very simply creating a list of, okay, here's all the hours, here's the theme laps if anyone has a really particular interest in any of the theme laps.
Right.
Sometimes the other tricky organizational part is figuring out because not all the people can stay the whole time.
Right.
So when you're in the community, you have a lot of our employees have children.
Right.
So they're not able to stay. So
yeah, let's face it, everybody probably wants to do the dinner time one from
oh, exactly.
6 to 8.
We'll have like 40 people there from 5
Right,
to 8, and then
right.
the numbers typically do dwindle as you get into the
Right.
11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4
Right,
a.m.
I would imagine that. Now, do you need a larger team? Would that help? Do you think?
More people is always. I mean, we're constantly trying to get more people. The hardest part is those who's willing to stay overnight.
Right. Well, I'm going to be there at 1 a.m. So anybody that wants to come down and visit with
So
me,
if you want
I
to
will
walk
be
with
there.
us,
I
we'll
will.
sign you
And
up.
actually, if they give me a wireless this year, a wireless mic,
There
I
you
will
go.
come out on the track
That's
with you.
great.
That's not a problem at all.
So I mean, in terms of that, I mean, the hard part with my experience as obviously an undergrad
Right.
environment is very different from a corporate team.
Right.
So I mean, I know when we were there in my undergraduate, we had no problem. People
Oh, of
like
course.
our team of 40 people was there the whole time.
Right.
When people have their lives as well,
And let's face
It's
it,
kind-
when we're a little
it's-
more mature age-wise,
Right. You
know,
have
when
other
you're
things
in
to do.
college, you're going to stay up all night.
exactly.
That's not a problem.
That was the event on campus
Yeah.
that night. You had nothing
right.
else
You
to
wouldn't
do.
get any sympathy from me then, but now I
Exactly.
understand.
So I mean,
Okay.
so it is a difficult process to manage that, figuring out who's going to be there, how long they can stay,
Right.
and then just kind of keeping track
And then
of
hoping
them.
that they actually show up too,
Exactly,
and that
because
they're on time.
a lot of
and all
times
that.
people, the other piece is people will leave, they'll come back at 6 a.m. We've had a couple years where
Right.
someone, they were supposed to be there at 5 a.m. and their son woke up puking and they couldn't
Oh.
make it, and
Well,
it
things happen.
Right,
so
exactly.
You got to have a plan B.
Exactly.
Always.
So it's just like, oh, I'll get on
So
the
you
track
know
and
what?
start
That's
walking.
probably good too. This is probably a good experience for you to learn how to organize something like this. You've probably learned a lot each year. You probably learn another way to do something a little better.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
really good.
And I think one
Excellent.
of the good things about Wilmington as well is that last year they implemented, and again, this was our first year, so I don't know if they had this in the first year as well, kind of a mentor program for team captains. So
Oh.
a new team captain was able to come in and get advice and just kind of create a relationship with someone who has captained a team before.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
be like, hey, I'm running into this. Have you experienced
Right,
that?
right,
What's your
right.
thoughts?
Because, like I say,
So-
each year you probably learn another little piece that works
Absolutely.
out a little better. So, waiting very patiently to talk to me, Patrick Giroux. So, you kind of represent the fun part of the event to me. And
Correct.
Joe's very fun too, but you're going to be doing all the stuff that's involved with
Yep,
the kids.
that's right.
So, tell me how you got involved. And you are a junior at
I'm a
Wilmington
junior in
High
high
School?
school, yep.
Okay. Tell me what made you want to do this event, and then tell us a little bit about the fun stuff we're going to
Sure.
have for kids.
So this is my third year of relay. I started 3 years ago when I was a freshman in high school. And cancer has just touched so many lives and so much of my family members. It's time for people to start doing things and get out there and help the cause. And relay just doesn't help find a cure. It, of course, does that. It also helps people stay well, get well. They have free transportation to treatment centers. They have places where cancer patients can go.
Right.
And about the Fun Zone, this is our second year of the Fun Zone.
Right.
This year we're going to get a little bigger than last year. Last year was our
Good.
big debut of it. And we do a lot of kids events. We have face painting, we have temporary tattoos. We also have one of our bigger events or attractions there is our bouncy house for kids. And we also
you
have,
guys have a dunk tank too,
yep,
right?
yep,
Yeah.
that's correct.
I remember that from last year. That was a big
Oh
deal.
yeah. Kids love dunking their parents
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah, if we could get some heavy hitters from the town in there, I bet that would be really great. So what have you come across in planning the events? How did you learn to make sure everything was running smoothly? That's a big job.
Yeah, it's a big job, but I also have people that are helping me. I have a girl named Caitlin who's a sophomore in high school, and she's going to be assisting me this year with a carnival that goes on. We have some games that go on, and we have prizes that go on. So if everybody takes a little piece, it definitely makes the event a lot easier.
Excellent. Now, what time do you have to be there, and are you going to be there the whole thing?
Well, usually in the past years, I haven't been in school because
Right.
school's been out, but this year we're in school. And we have finals on that day,
I think
so
we can
we'll
maybe make some kind of arrangement for that. Yeah.
But hopefully I'll be getting out at 11:30 in the morning. I'll head right out back to the high school field. And then I'll probably be there all night, all
Right.
day, probably till 2:30 the next afternoon.
Yeah, and the
So-
kids' events, they run pretty late at night. Don't you guys stop usually around 8 or 9? So it kind of runs pretty much
Yep.
the full day, right?
This year the Fun Zone's actually going to be open for 2 sessions. It's going to be open from 3:30 to about 5:30 when the ceremonies start. And then after the ceremonies end, we're going to open back up until 8:30 for the luminaria ceremony.
So you'll be open a little bit longer, because I know last year I kept announcing the dunk tank is closing in 5 minutes. You know, that was the big thing. Yeah. Anything new you're going to be doing this year other than you know, the big bouncy house and all those things? Anything special?
We're expanding our carnival. We're getting some new games. We're going to add some more prizes, and we're also teaming up this year with Camp 40 Acres. And they're going to be running a lot of relay races. We're going to have a lot of games. Like last year we had Midnight Madness. It took probably about 50 people were there. And it took place in the middle of the football field, and we just did a bunch of fun races. A lot of people like to do that at midnight, kind of wake everybody up, have some fun. Yeah.
And I think Steve Bjorg is going to be doing comedy at that hour, and then I'll be showing up right after that, which is always hilarious. So I'll be there after that. But this sounds like it's going to be really fun. You're blowing it out of the water. How do you find the people that are willing to do the games? Did Camp 40 Acres approach you? Do you ask all your friends?
Camp 40 Acres has been really close with Relay. We've been with them for 3 years. They're really close to the town, and we're good friends with the people that are in charge of Camp 40 Acres, and they're willing to donate a lot of their products, well, not products, but like
Prizes
services.
And people and time.
They're going to donate their tent and a lot of their games and stuff.
Right, we need the tent in case. I hope this year it's nice and sunny.
Hopefully.
It was last year, so I hope it's good. Anything final either of you gentlemen would like to say to our viewing audience to let them know? Anything you want to say before we close the program today?
I would just encourage everyone to check out Relay for Life. It's a great event. The American Cancer Society does a great job. The Wilmington event, from my experience, having done, this will be the 3rd different location I've done it at. It's one of the most well-run Relay for Lives that I've ever been to or seen. So I definitely encourage you to come down, check it out. It's a lot of fun. As we've discussed.
Family friendly.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't beat that. And there's no charge to get in, nothing like that. Everything's donation, and you can be from other communities and still come to the Wilmington Relay. Patrick, anything you'd like our viewers to know before
I'd just
we
like to
close?
let them know to come on down to Relay that day. It's going to be a lot of fun, as you've heard. It's going to be a lot of activities and stuff for every age.
Right,
So come on down.
excellent, excellent. Well, I'd just like to thank you all for watching the program today. If you can get involved, the relay is on June 17th and 18th. We'll be putting the website on the screen for you. You can get in touch with Joe if you'd like to be part of a team. If you just want to come down and support the folks that are there and get involved, I encourage you to do that. So I want to thank you both for being with us today. Thank you to Joe and Kathy for being in the earlier segment. Really, thank you guys for what you're doing. I know we're helping a lot of people, all of us are, and that makes us feel really good. Just want to remind you that you've been watching Where's Wilmington? And the next time somebody asks you Where's Wilmington, you tell them right here and right here on WCTV. Thanks for watching.